Hello there everyone! In this video, I will be starting a drawing challenge of drawing all of my original characters. And so that we aren't here forever, the rules for an OC are, I have a design for them, at the very least in my head, and a place for them in their story. There are a few sort of exceptions and a few older OCs that I will be redrawing, but that's kind of the gist of it. And with those limits in mind, that leaves me with about 64 OCs? Alright, so I'm starting with Ace, who is kind of the whole reason I started this, because I realized that, I haven't drawn him for a really long time, and that made me kind of sad because I really like his design, and I haven't drawn him much in the past, so I don't really have any good art of him. Ace, which isn't actually his real name, it's like his nickname, but he's basically his world's version of a police officer. He's a side character, but like an important one. And he's much more by the book than his coworker Haley, who I'll talk about in a future video of this, He tries to put on a more in-control, tough persona, but in reality, he's really nice and probably would be like a really good friend, Anyway, for those reasons, he gets entangled with the Masquerade, who are the main cast of characters in the story, and I'll talk a little bit more about their world once I actually get to drawing more of those characters in a future episode. But basically all you need to know is that in this world, it's sort of, I don't know if post-apocalyptic is the right word, but it's kind of dystopian. Basically the world is covered in this toxic gas now, and people live in these kind of dome-like cities. The art I wanted to have nice, good vibes, so I decided to go with a slightly different way of colors and also the line art and the shading, but to a much less extent. So I used much more painterly textures and just kind of tried to keep that in mind. Next on the list is my character Rodri. So he's a bit of an oddball because I didn't consider the other characters in his story, or world would probably be more accurate because it's just for my random fantasy nonsense plot and designs. But I didn't really consider the other characters in his story to be designed enough to really consider them to be actually OCs. And to be honest, Rodri is kind of teetering on the line, but he actually has a name and I really like his design and stuff. So I'm counting him because I like him. Anyway, Rodri is a mage and also a very scholarly, serious character. And he's also the Duke in my loosely connected fantasy nonsense royal. The world literally is just an excuse for me to draw random pretty dresses and stuff. Because that's all I want to do is draw pretty dresses. And obviously of my OCs, but I like to draw my OCs in pretty dresses. And that's really just the gist of him, honestly. The Royal AU it's kind of what I call this world because sometimes I'll stick pre-established characters and I want to draw them in fancy fantasy nonsense clothes, so I just put them in there. Yeah, it's really just for cool random stuff I think is fun, and it's not really for stories that I actually plan on telling. Alright, Erica. She is in the world that I call my truck gang. It's a random post-apocalyptic. I can't say post-apocalyptic. Post-apocalyptic. Okay, I did it. Thank you. But it's this post-apocalyptic. It's a post that word ish kind of story, or that's the setting. The story is very much in the works. It's really just I want to draw these characters and I think their dynamic is fun and the aesthetics are slightly apocalyptic and grungy. I don't know if that's the right word because it's a little brighter, at least the scenarios and the characters, than I would consider grunge, I guess, but I'm not the expert, so, It's a little slice of lifey. It's very much a work in progress, but I really like the feel, and I feel like I have a good grasp of the characters, and Erica is part of the main trio, and her main plight is that she feels inadequate when it comes to like her father's expectations, well, her whole family really, and like her, I don't know, tribe, clan, I don't know if that's the right word, but it kind of works. Their expectations anyways, and she has the need to prove herself to others often. She almost like she has to show off or be extremely competent. And as for the art on this one, I really like it. I don't do like this twilighty time of day much, but I think it looks pretty neat. I should try doing it more. Alright, now we have Trent, and Trent is the older brother of one of my main characters. His name is Jefferson, for the truck gang, so he belongs to the same world as Erica. And he's very sweet, and one of my characters that is not like completely traumatized. I know. It's crazy. I did it, guys. And he has like he has a green thumb for sure, and is in charge of a lot of the planting and storage, or preserving, I guess, for his home. And yeah, I wanted to go with a simple, cozy drawing for him, and for some reason, I find sunsets really pretty, and they're pretty simple to draw to make like a cool looking landscape. So I went with that, as it also matches his color palette. He's a very simple character, but a lot of my friends really like him. And yeah, that's about it. Next. Okay, so for this art, slight like blood warming. Actually, it's not slight blood, there's a lot of blood. So yeah, you've been warned. Anyways, so Dane is one of the main characters in my fantasy story I call Zenadia, because that's like the name of the land or universe, whatever thing. And in this world, there are two main time periods, and Dane's takes place first. I don't know, not time periods, storylines, I don't know. His story follows his journey of becoming one of the greatest commanders and war heroes of the ages and the Servalos' kingdom, aka like the elf kingdom, because Dane is an elf, and their struggle against the kingdom of Treden. Also, since I didn't actually draw Dane's face in this one, I'll put up like pictures of his face right now. Yeah. That's great. I have a lot of speed paints of it. Anyways, so the Kingdom of Treden, whose lands are infected with what's called the Decay, which is kind of the main thing that they're fighting, but they don't like know they're fighting it until like the second time period story. This one gets a little complicated. It's a little hard to talk about in short intervals, but you know, I'll do my best. I'll help. Feel free to ask any questions, honestly. Anyways, Dane is one of my favorite OCs at the moment, and his personality is much like that of what's usually seen in like mentors, just like the old grizzled warrior. But I don't know, he's not like harsh, at least like when it comes to when he's not on the battlefield and fighting and supposed to be leading a war effort. you know he's very serious and practical, and he's the type of person you call on to do hard things, like, you know, leading a war or something, you know. But, you know, he's not all nails and splinters. He cares for his troops, and even though he can be very harsh when it comes to rule breaking, many of his soldiers look up to him. I have traumatized this poor man so much. I would go into it more, but I think it would take forever to explain, and I think it would be more interesting to explore it more in a story-like setting, like with animations that I would really like to get to. So that's about all, and if you're interested in a more in-depth breakdown of the art, that's also like slowed down and stuff, I will link the full process video that I put up earlier. Yeah, so that's Dane. We love Dane. Next character. Waterflower is one of my older OCs. She's actually a huge reason I started drawing consistently, because I was so excited to have like a random character in my head, and I wanted to make all the possible art of her. So Waterflower is a How to Train Your Dragon OC, and she's a sand wraith. And yeah, she was basically like my first actual OC, I would say. Like, man, I don't even know how old I was when I made her up. But yeah, she was the first one. So that's cool. I loved her so much, and she kind of kicked off like this whole dragon drawing phase that lasted like 2 years. Like, I only drew dragons, and it took me forever to get out of that. And then, I went on to dragons, to drawing animals and furries, like you saw in the last one. In the next video, you'll see that I had a very much like an animal drawing phase. I just didn't find humans that interesting to draw. But now it's mostly what I draw, actually, so that's kind of funny. Yeah, anyway, I love her, and let's move on to the next How to Train Your Dragon OCs, because I made several. Alright, so Tano is like Waterflower's mate, I guess. He's a woolly howl dragon, and honestly, I didn't draw him a lot. And unfortunately, I don't have many of the old drawings I did of him, as they were on an old computer that I don't have access to anymore. And I didn't keep a lot of sketchbooks, and the ones I do are like buried, and that would take forever to go through, because I drew a ton of dragons way back when, Overall, it's a simple drawing. A lot of these old OC redraws will be on the simpler side, just because I don't have as clear of a story and personality for them as I did when I was a kid. And frankly, I just have so many fun ideas for the more current OCs, and I really wanted to spend my time on those. So next OC is Slash. So I completely forgot about this guy until I was looking through old art for this video, and I was like, oh, this guy! And yes, he's my obligatory edgy OC that we all made as kids. He was made as an antagonist, and he got in like fights and skirmishes with the other dragons. For the drawing, I wanted to do a rain scene and something that would stand against the red eyes really well. And I really like pairing red and blue. I don't know, it's just really nice. You'll probably see it later, because yeah, I do that a lot. Now that we're near the end of this episode, I want to talk a bit about the challenge. So I'm planning on doing 6 to 7 episodes in total that will span across several different of my own worlds. I hope you enjoy this type of video, and if you do, you may want to check out my Drawing Every Day for 30 Days art videos. Or if you're interested in my OCs, I have several speed paintings and a few animations in my shorts if you're interested. Thank you all for watching. Bye!